What up, Philly Nation? Welcome back to the Bird Gang Brothers podcast. This is episode 2. Don't forget to give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram at Bird Gang Brother. And yeah, let's get started on the recap of week 3.
What a game! I'll just start there. I'm glad we went into Tampa Bay and left with a win, putting us at 3-0. Let's call this the Shifty Swifty game. DeAndre Swift, without a question, is running back number 1 in Philadelphia. I know that there were comments this last week about Philadelphia being a running by committee, whoever has the hot hand, whether that's Swift, Kenneth Gainwell, Rashad Penny, Boston Scott, whoever it is. I think without a doubt it's DeAndre Swift. He was unstoppable tonight. The lanes that were opened up by the offensive line. I think I got a stat, and this was before halftime. I don't have his full stats with me right now, but he had 4 rushes for 36 yards, so roughly 9 to 10.5 rush yards per attempt. I don't know, for Howie Roseman to be able to trade for DeAndre Swift for a 4th round pick, if I'm correct, is amazing. One of the better pickups in the offseason, in my opinion. I loved watching him tonight.
You're a wizard, Howie. That pickup. I'm just so excited. I was questioning, to be honest, a few of those play calls when Swift was going. Like he had it in him, and they pulled him out and threw in Kenneth Gainwell. Nothing on Kenneth on Gainwell, but Swift just had it going for him that game, and I don't know. I'm definitely excited to see him this season. I saw a stat of the rushing leaders after 3 weeks. We obviously know the given. Number 1, Christian McCaffrey.
Yep.
Averaging 5.9 yards per carry, but sitting at 353. Number 2, DeAndre Swift with 308 yards, averaging 7 yards per carry.
More than Christian McCaffrey. I saw that right before we hopped on.
Yeah, I'm excited to see this man. I haven't been that excited for a running back since LaShawn McCoy.
And we haven't had an explosive and shifty, make people miss type of running back since LaShawn McCoy. I mean, when he gets the ball, it looks like the play's dead, but then he pops out of nowhere and he picks up the first down. I'll go back to kind of what you said. I didn't understand. It was first quarter. It was 4th and 2, and you put in Kenneth Gainwell when DeAndre Swift has had the hot hand. We don't pick it up. We turn it over on downs. That play call and that substitution was very interesting to me. I wasn't a huge fan of that. But yeah, DeAndre Swift, and then his hurdle in the third quarter. He just runs like an absolute beast, and I'm so stoked to have him in our backfield behind our offensive line.
I couldn't agree with you more. He reminds me so much of LaShawn McCoy. He's just Swifty. Like he makes plays happen, and I'm super excited about that. But it definitely does worry me, especially after today's game, seeing how the red zone offense played tonight. I mean, the first quarter, I want to say it even led into the second quarter, but there were so many opportunities Philly had to go down the field. Great run plays, great pass plays, everything. And they either turned it over or came out with a field goal. And it's like, yes, they won, but you got to think, if they didn't turn those over, they could have had, such a better red zone game. So it definitely does worry me, but I don't know. What do you think?
I'm still trying to be patient with Brian Johnson. I think we're seeing him lean on what he knows works. That's the running game right now.
For sure.
The passing game, it's there. We just need to dig it back out. We have the same players from last year: AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goddard. We've got, I don't even know how to say his first name. It's like Olamide Zacchaeus,
Something
uh,
like that.
or something like that. So I think it's just going to take a little bit more time for that passing game to come out in full effect, like it did last year. My thought throughout the game was defensive coaches have had plenty of time to study our film. They know what we do versus
Yep.
last year. Not a whole lot of people did. But I do want to highlight in the passing game, and I think this is underestimated a little bit, especially right now with us not reaching our full potential, is on that drive where Zacchaeus scored the touchdown. If you watch Jalen Hurts, he stayed in the pocket on both
Took
of those.
took a big hit. That's
He
a
took
little worrisome, but
he took two. The first one he got sandwiched, but his head was to the side, so I was a little
yeah,
worried about that one at the beginning. But staying in the pocket to pick up that first down, but then also staying in the pocket to throw that touchdown to Zacchaeus, I think that shows huge improvement as a true quarterback and staying in the pocket. Because that's what everyone complains about is, oh, Jalen Hurts is a running back. He's not a real quarterback. He can't stay in the pocket. So I do think then that I think that that's one area Brian Johnson is trying to work with Jalen Hurts on is staying in the pocket and going through your reads. If one's not there, check two, check three, check down. So I think that was one highlight of that first half when it comes to the offense. The the tight ends, I thought they were more involved in the game plan today.
for sure.
Would you agree on that one?
No, yeah, I definitely do. I love seeing Goddard get the ball. Did of course, being the Eagles fan, wanted him to score and wanted him to get as many touches as possible. But fantasy, I had my opponent who had him in, so I was a little worried. But no, I like the game plan with the offense and how they were able to effectively use all of Philly's weapons because I think it's a very good problem to know that your problem you face as a team is getting all your weapons the ball.
Touches, yeah.
That's definitely something. I'd rather have that than anything else. But
One thing I noticed since we're talking about tight ends, there was a pass to Calcaterra, and I want to say that there was some miscommunication on which way he should have turned, making it look like Jalen had a bad throw.
yeah,
And then on his first interception, he threw it to the right, leading or no, to the left, assuming that's where DeAndre Swift was going to go. But DeAndre Swift went to the right, middle part of the field. And I think that's part of those kinks because most of the mistakes that I saw tonight was miscommunication. And I
yeah,
think you
for
saw a
sure.
little bit with the tight ends. But uh, speaking of Jalen Hurts, I saw post game he was feeling with, or he was feeling
Dealing
some. Go ahead.
dealing with flu-like symptoms. That was the next thing I was gonna
Yeah.
bring up, and so
Yeah.
it's just interesting to see how that really affected him. Whether that's physically, mentally, you never know. But how he responded to that in the tweet, it said, "We won," and that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
Keeping the main thing the main thing.
keeping the main thing, baby.
Hmm.
But no, it's definitely interesting to see those types of things, and it's not an excuse by any means, but dealing with flu-like symptoms, like I couldn't imagine being Lane Johnson, dealing with that anxiety throwing up
Yeah.
pregame, all that stuff. Like I played football as a little kid for 1 year, and I pregame for me was I was worried, I was scared. So there are a lot of things that can definitely play into effect, especially as a quarterback.
Yeah. No, I thought he did. I thought he did well. Side note, and I knew this. I love Philadelphia fans. They travel so well. Throughout the game, you could hear the crowd cheering when something positive happened for Philly. There was a bunch of green in the stands, and I heard Troy Aikman at the beginning of the game saying when he walked into the stadium, he was greeted with colorful language. And and it's so true. It's funny because no matter when you played for the Dallas Cowboys, if you played for the Dallas Cowboys, you're an enemy. You're going to be treated like an enemy and a
Yep.
an opponent of the Philadelphia Eagles. So I just thought that was cool. Them traveling, they last year they traveled everywhere to every game. They almost overtook the stadium. So I thought that was awesome.
What one thing that I laughed at quite a bit was yesterday with Dak's performance with that crucial interception he threw. Or I'm not even sure if it was on the interception, but you saw because you're white.
Oh yeah,
He was making fun of him, and I don't. Again, there was no audio, so I couldn't hear. But
I think he said you bum, something
you
like you
bum.
bum, get out of here.
So whether they're past players, fans, they may be a little ruthless, but hey, once a Philly fan or player, always a Philly fan or a
A
player.
player.
So
Yep, no, I agree. So I got a couple notes here. I This game, because I wanted to have enough content for our recording tonight, and so I took notes throughout the game on my iPad, and it's interesting to watch the game as like an analyst versus a fan.
yep,
Uh, you get more into it. You get more detail oriented in some of these things, and I think that's fun because you really see what the players are doing versus maybe just judging them off of that one game. Like if I was just focused on that one game, I wouldn't have looked at, okay, this is DeAndre Swift second game at 120 plus yards. So little things like that. So I've just got some notes. But what were you going to say?
I was just gonna say it's almost like playing fantasy football versus not playing fantasy football. You tune in it's like a different perspective of the game. So it's always interesting to kind of analyze what or how people are playing, how the team is as a whole. So just a little quick little thought for you, but go ahead.
No, for sure. Um, so just I guess make sure I touch on some of the Hertz notes that I have. Hertz in the last two seasons is 19-1. That's pretty darn impressive as our starting quarterback. I also want to point out because I don't feel like Cam Newton ever got the scrutiny that Jalen Hurts is getting as a triple threat quarterback, but I saw a tweet earlier that said Jalen Hurts now has the most rushing TDs in a quarterback's first 50 career games, passing Cam Newton. Cam Newton reached 29 TDs in just. No, no, no. I'm sorry. Jalen Hurts reached 29 TDs in just 48 games. So I thought that was quite impressive to see that stat. Um, Anything else on Jalen Hurts that you've noticed tonight? And if not, that's totally fine. Just wanted to give you an opportunity while I look to see if I've got any notes on him.
You know what? Not a whole lot. Um,
Four
I want to
four interceptions in 3 games.
yeah, I want to see him do better. That's not Jalen Hurts, and I don't know if that's the play calling. if that's him. I don't know what it is.
Miscommunication
Missed cues, but
for sure on that one to Swift.
I definitely think he has more in him, and him being the person he is, he's going to take that upon himself and he's going to fix it. He's going to look for areas of improvement, and that's what good quarterbacks do. So not a whole lot on him, but I just hope he can get it right.
Nope. Yep. I think that was pretty much it in regards to the offensive side of the ball. The one, I don't know, thing that stood out to me with Jalen Hurts, I think it was after halftime, was it was 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, and he had to run, and he was running to the right side, and other quarterbacks might go out of bounds, but he knew he had to pick up the first down, and for him to sacrifice his body, that shows the will to win. So I was pretty happy about that. But uh, the defense tonight, that's kind of where I'm really excited. And my first thought tonight was like, can you imagine being a running back or someone on the opposing team? Well, in this situation, I guess a running back, and you're running up the middle, and you've got Jordan Davis in your face, you've got Jalen Carter in your face, Nolan Smith coming off the edge, Hassan Reddick, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham. Like, just in my mind, I'm like, I would be so freaked out because our defensive line is so dominant. I felt like the first quarter, we heard a lot of Jordan Davis, not as much of Jalen Carter. And then the second quarter, that's when Jalen Carter got that punch out.
Yeah, that was right after, I believe it was Jalen's interception. It was a play,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
just
Yep.
came around and just knocked that puppy out. Like that was. Let me just say this: can you imagine not picking up Jalen Carter in the draft? Because I
No,
can't.
no, not not at all. Like everybody, those first 8 picks are kicking their own butts for letting him fall to Philadelphia.
Oh,
Obviously,
for sure.
it's understandable with the off-field issues, but the fact that Jalen Carter falls to us at 9, and then at 31 we get Nolan Smith. I mean, you saw a little bit of Nolan Smith, a little bit more tonight, but I can't remember what quarter this was. Baker Mayfield's getting ready to launch it downfield, and Nolan Smith comes from the
Nolan,
side
oof,
and puts him on his butt.
lit him up on that
Yeah.
hit.
Yeah. So I don't know. That defensive line is freaking awesome. I think the defensive line is going to be one of those areas that saves us in those tight ball games and possibly wins us those games just because of the talent on that front. Uh, Defensive rookie of the year for Jalen Carter. I would not be surprised.
I I agree with you there. That man, the way that line was getting to the quarterback, to the running back, they were all over them. Like it was a sight to see for sure. And man, like after already having a great defense last year,
Mm-hmm.
like I heard it so much in the offseason after the draft. Like, how do you let such a good player fall to a great team?
Yeah. No, we are extremely fortunate to have the players that we have on that defensive front. I would say let's work our way back. So the linebackers, I pray that Howie Roseman will draft a linebacker next year. There's 2 from Clemson. The one that I want, that every Philadelphia fan wants, is Jeremiah Trotter Jr.
Yep.
But we're lacking talent there. But I will say I do want to highlight Zach Cunningham has been awesome since he got picked up in training camp. But tonight, Nicholas Morrow, who came over from Chicago, who led the Bears in tackles last year, had 2 tackles tonight and 2 for a loss. And I believe that one of those tackles for a loss, he was the one that cut up right through the middle to get the safety.
Yes.
So I just wanted to highlight him because he goes unrecognized because one, you don't hear his name very much. I don't know, if how often he plays, but that was a huge play, and so I think he deserved a little bit of shine for what he did on that play.
No, yeah, I that defense, I'll agree with you. I hope they can get some help at the linebacker position. Like, yes, they got some good pieces, but I feel like that's an area that's not always addressed as high as we would like it to be.
How he doesn't
But
doesn't value linebackers. I wish he would, because I would have loved to see T.J. Edwards stay and Kazir White. So I don't know. It's kind of irritating that he doesn't value the linebackers. But so moving past them into the secondary, give me your thoughts or some observations from tonight's game on the secondary.
you know, I think I don't know. Joe he's picking it up for sure. I think he's stepping into some pretty heavy shoes, um, trying to fill a big spot. So I hope um, he can continue to grow and progress. But I personally feel like he had a pretty good um, game tonight. So
I think I think it improved as the quarters went on. I
uh
think
huh.
there was some miscommunication with him and James Bradbury in the slot in the first quarter. Pretty soon after the game had started, he was playing yards off of the wide receiver, and then he had that crucial PI at the beginning of the game as well. Now, obviously, any corner gets PIs, but I do think that there's going to be some learning curves and mistakes with Job, especially if they keep Bradbury in the slot as a corner. I would prefer, and what I hope happens is Bradbury jumps back outside. And again, we talked about this in the first one. I think Howie Roseman is going to address the secondary by the trade deadline, because I think it needs some work. I think we need more depth at that slot position. But 2 other players in the secondary, I loved the follow through. So I believe Justin Evans got some more playing time. Or no, no, no. Sidney Brown got some more playing time because Justin Evans was questionable with an injury. And there was the close touchdown pass from Baker Mayfield to Chris Godwin. And Sidney Jones followed through, even though he's going to the ground, putting your hand up to follow through on that coverage. That's what pulled the ball out. I know that Sidney Brown's capable of things like that, so I hope that he gets more playing time moving forward. But I love Sidney Brown. I think I told you this before we started recording that as my hot take, if you will, Sidney Brown is kind of going down that path with his physicality of Brian Dawkins. Now, no one's going to be like Brian Dawkins. I'm not saying that, but I don't know, just how physical he is. He wants to hit, and he
It's in the head. He's got that mentality
yeah,
of being physical.
yep, he's definitely physical. Um, he flies around just like Reed Blankenship. Reed Blankenship was impressive tonight.
Had an interception.
Yep, he read that perfectly. I also loved the blitz from the secondary that he came right up and tackled for a loss. So we found a diamond in the rough in Reed Blankenship, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, I was happy to see him back. I know those type of injuries can be difficult, but thanks to a longer break, longer time off that they had, grateful that he was able to heal up because it's definitely noticeable when he's out there versus when he's not. So
Yeah.
I couldn't agree with you more on finding such a great player, in the rough. So hats off to him for sure.
Well, I just look at all the players that we drafted this last draft. I don't think that we missed on one. And for you to have a draft
That well
as
is phenomenal.
talented is amazing. I mean, Tyler Steen, Sidney Brown, obviously our first round picks. Then you got Keely Ringo, another dog. Um, so I love now that Howie's in the driver's seat for drafting because he knows who and how to draft. I feel like if he would have had more control, we would have Justin Jefferson on the Philadelphia Eagles. But I'm totally fine with AJ Brown. AJ Brown's just as talented. Um,
I
but
feel sorry to take this from you, but I feel if we would have gotten Justin Jefferson, we would not have AJ Brown. We wouldn't have Smitty. Like I feel like yes, it was difficult in the time losing and passing on him, but I feel like by not having him, we ended up with some pretty good players. So
yeah, that's a good point. I mean, maybe they wouldn't have gone for Smitty if they had Justin Jefferson. Good thought. I love Devontae Smith, but to end out this recording, I did want to point out another stat and talk about the tush push. Now, I think this was halftime when I saw this stat, but the Philadelphia Eagles are or were at that time 29 of 31 on the tush push since starting back in 2022. Now, during the game, they had some more. I wish they wouldn't have pulled this out of the playbook, that there was the one setup for the tush push where Jalen goes
in
forward
the
with
red zone,
goes
yeah,
forward into the line and then steps back because he's going to throw it, but he trips over Kenneth Gainwell's foot. I don't think you need to pull that out when you're up as many points as they were against Tampa Bay because you're showing other teams a trick play, if you will. So the tush push, I mean, it's obviously effective and we used it a ton tonight. But let's kind of hide some of those differences in that tush push for when we really need it.
no, yeah, for sure. I laugh because I get all these comments, um, and I'm seeing all over Twitter people wanting to get rid of the tush push. It's so many teams are good at so many things. I of course watching the Kelsey's podcast. Watch it. I watch it live. Not gonna lie, I'll throw that out there. But they talked about it in there. They're not gonna take Patrick Mahomes away from his little toss in the red zone. I don't know what play they call, whatever they do, but lines up and runs around and then throws it out for the
Yeah,
for the guy to cut up, and it's like he's so great at that. Awesome, keep it.
yeah,
Don't have him get rid of something because he's so good. And I feel like that's the same here. Just because Philly is so good at a play, don't get rid of it.
yeah.
If you're
Well,
so mad, that's on your defense. You gotta fix it.
and like you look at our offensive line, the only reason why we're 92% of the time successful on that tush push is because of our offensive line. Jason Kelsey, Jordan Mailata, Lane Johnson, Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens, like those are big boys pushing forward that line and getting low. So I'm sorry we have a talented offensive line. But yeah, that was kind of the last thing. Usually put these. Go ahead. What are you gonna say?
No, if you're wrapping up, I wouldn't mind taking a little bit to throw out my MVP of the game.
Oh yeah, give me the MVP.
Gotta give a shout out to my hometown hero from Utah, Britain Covey. Loved watching the dude play at Utah. He's one of my favorites, and he gets so much slander on Twitter all the time. Oh, get rid of him. Let's put in, Devin. See what he could do. He had a phenomenal game tonight. Okay, he had I think two or three,
I think it was
maybe
two.
two, for 14, 15 yards. Okay, great. He had one a 30-yard return off of the safety, off of the off the kickoff
Yeah.
from the safety,
Uh-huh.
and then he had a 52-yard return.
Yeah.
That man, you could see Philly's whole sideline going crazy on that one. Like I was so happy for him. I want to see him succeed. He's a small guy, but he gets it done. And as they call him, coaches call him the Mormon Missile because he is so quick. So hey, I'll take it, and he's getting my MVP of the game tonight.
Well, the Mormon Missile needed to show up tonight. I do agree with you. There has been slander on his name and his inability to produce. And so for him to do that tonight, to show what he's capable of, I thought that was huge. He's explosive right off the bat, and he just needs to see the field. I agree with you. Any boy from Utah, whether it's BYU, Utah State, Utah, Weber State, it's cool to see them succeed. But especially coming from Utah and watching Covey as long as we did at Utah, and for him to come to our team, I mean, I remember you calling me and, oh, did you see who Philly just signed off of the undrafted free agent list? And I didn't know at that time. And so when you said Covey, I was stoked because I know what he did in college. So yeah, no, I am glad he was as successful as he was tonight. So for sure, a good shout out to the hometown boy Britain Covey. But yeah, just to wrap up, we appreciate you guys taking the time to view our podcast. Like we said, we're just beginning, having fun, just talking about Philadelphia. Definitely let us know where we can improve, what you guys would like to hear going forward. Most of the time, as we figure things out, we'll do a quick recap, about 30 minutes post the game that Philadelphia just played. So join us next week as Philadelphia takes on the Washington Redskins. I'm always going to call them the Washington Redskins. I know the Commanders. It is what it is. So join us next week as we talk Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington Redskins. Thanks, everyone.